What is up, everybody? It is your boy Lou Martinez, aka Big Chief Burrito, here live with you on a Tuesday. Fireside Chats with Big Chief Burrito coming at you live. Hope everybody is having a safe pandemic slash cool slash holiday season, and hopefully everybody is staying safe. We can do Christmas next year. People, hopefully everybody is just staying at home as much as you possibly can, even though apparently sheriff's office has said they're not enforcing it. So here in California, it's kind of a weird mix. Today, um, we're going to be talking to a collaborator of 2 a.m. Burritos, Zoey Hendrix. She worked with me on a movie called Fallback a couple of years back, where we had a chance to make a movie in 72 hours at an iconic San Diego location. That is the picture that we have here of her working on Dominic Lerma's Remove Fingers. She again, photo courtesy Amanda San Martin, who was the photographer on set that day. This is her and Dominic, the creation. And she also did work with another actress, collaborator, Lexi Aviles, turning her into a drowned girl. That's a little too far. That's Jace's picture. Jace is next week's, guys. Let's stay on topic here. So obviously, I was impressed recently because I saw that she was doing some things, and she's a proponent of ASL, American Sign Language, as something that is shouldn't be niche, should be something that more people in the world are into. And I kind of thought that was super interesting. Obviously, I want to talk to her about being a makeup artist, a horror fan, an anime fan, and anything else that comes up. So, Zoey Hendrix, welcome to the show. How you doing today?
Hi, good. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad that you used the occasion to be able to use one of your wigs.
I know. Well, as you said, I love anime, so if I get a chance, I will try to look like a character.
When did the love of anime start for you? When did you discover it?
I would have to say one of my best friends. I grew up with a Korean family on my block, so like since fourth grade, I have been very heavily influenced by Asian culture. There was a Japanese and a Korean family that we used to hang out with, and so we were always watching Sailor Moon, Inuyasha, just like old school back in like late '90s, watching whatever was on. I forget what we would watch it on, but that's where it started. And then I kind of left it a little bit. When I got to high school, I was like, I want to be cool. And then I got back into it as like an adult in my mid 20s and am now fully obsessed with like action figures and, you know, limited edition comic books and video games and anything, and cosplay, of course. So
Little did you know that everything that was nerdy becomes cool again in this new modern age, right? So something that you
yeah.
would get crap for being a little kid, all of a sudden now you're like, oh, you're an anime fan? Like, oh my god.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I kind of wish I would have just stuck with it and just said screw everybody, but I'm glad that I'm back. So,
Can you are there a lot of anime posers?
I don't think we should say that. I think that anybody who is coming into the community should be
Mhm.
welcomed, whether you're old school, whether you're new school. I think there is a lot of talk on TikTok where the guys are saying like girls are stealing anime and over sexualizing the male characters. It's like, okay, but you've been over sexualizing female characters since how
Right.
long? And now we're taking it back and we're actually embracing our sexuality and enjoying the image of an attractive cartoon male. Like, I don't, TV male, I don't see the issue there, but I think it's a good community that has a lot of really great people in it. And we just need to let everybody, it doesn't matter. Do
Yeah.
you?
No, I think that that sometimes like you see people that get way too concerned about how somebody found something out. Like, oh, I like AC/DC because I first heard them when I was playing Guitar Hero. Well,
Yeah.
you're not the real fan. You didn't stand in the concert in '86, and
Yeah.
like
It
challenging
doesn't
people
matter.
for wearing a band shirt or something like that.
Exactly. Love is love. If you appreciate the same anime as me, I will geek out with you. And I
Right.
know a lot of people are kind of like elitist, if you will, about in the anime community, but those are the type of people that are probably, I don't know, going to bed alone at night and with an anime pillow, which I have actually.
They're the ones ordering the life-size anime pillows and
Mhm.
naming them and having full-on relationships with them. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah. Yes, and also, okay, so I know somebody who has one, and they brought it to a con, and it was so dirty. And if you're watching, I apologize for outing you right now. I'm not going to say a name, but I was like, how did this pillow get so dirty? And I don't want to look into this anymore, actually.
Was it dirty and crusty or just straight
I
dirty?
didn't touch it. I didn't touch it, but it looked
Okay.
dirty. Like the pillows are normally white with a character, and it was like it had dirt on it and stuff. I was like,
Maybe that pillow liked it rough, right? I don't know. Okay. All right, I'm sorry. I made the
it's
pillow
okay.
dirty. It's all right.
No, no, no.
No, but the original point is that who cares why somebody becomes a fan of a certain type of art, music, or whatever. It's cooler to just invite them to the party than to
Yeah,
question their sincerity, right?
yeah, exactly.
Did you ever? How many times have you or what is your favorite like anime cosplay?
My favorite cosplay, I mean, it really just depends on what I'm into at the time. But I would say I made from scratch a Sinon cosplay from Sword Art Online. And that's another anime that a lot of people hate, but I don't give a shit. And it took me a long time, and it's a cosplay that would normally cost like $300-400. I don't know, but I made it from scratch with the gun, and it was sick. It was dope.
How many hours you put into it?
I probably took, I mean, it took me like at least over a month to make, and I would work on it probably for, I don't know, I would say it took me at least like 4 or 5 days of
Wow.
working on it for a few hours a day. So yeah, it took a while. I
Is
kind
that
of
Go
tested
ahead.
myself on that one.
Is that what you missed the most from No Comic Con this year?
Yeah, the cosplaying, and then also the parties, like the room parties and the rooftop parties, and just like it's literally like so much fun, especially Comic-Con. Like you will have so much more fun outside of Comic-Con than inside.
Oh
So
yeah, you gotta go to the hotel bars, and
yeah,
that's where you meet all the celebrities and the artists and the cool people.
and that's also where you're gonna get like the all the free drinks and everything. So
Now, when you started off as a makeup artist, was it something that you always had a passion about, or did you cap into, I guess, begin to realize that it was something that you had an aptitude for?
So with makeup, I started to get into it when I started watching The Walking Dead and playing zombies on Call of Duty, because I was like super into Call of Duty, World at War, Nazi zombies for a while back in like the early 2000s, mid early 2000s. And the reason I wanted to get into special effects makeup specifically was when I was little. One of my favorite movies was Legend, and that has Tim Curry in it as the devil. Tom Cruise is in it, and there's like unicorns or whatever, but it's an 80s movie. But Tim Curry's character as the devil was so well done with the prosthetic and the makeup and everything. It was just beautiful. So that was like a big inspiration back in the day for me.
And then right away, you saw it. You're like, yeah, this is for me. I want to recreate that.
Yeah, and I got into it and would always play with makeup and just kind of do weird things, but then kind of got more serious into zombies when Call of Duty Zombies came out, and I just started like being like, let's do
Yeah.
it.
Was that the first one where in the theater, or was that the one where it was like out in the middle of nowhere? Because the theater one you used to have to run around and then
So are you the game World at War?
yeah,
That
yeah,
one was World War II, so that one
yeah.
came right before or after Call of Duty 4.
But that one was like it had like a George Romero type feel where it was like in this like outhouse somewhere that you had to keep building up, and then they keep changing. Or then there's the one where you were Kennedy or Nixon or something too. That was another one.
That's yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know that one, but it's the one in the where you had to build up the walls and everything
yeah,
like
yeah. That was the one where you would at the end you would throw a grenade and just leave one zombie crawling around so that you could go fix everything and then get ready for the next wave. Okay, yeah, for sure. I've spent plenty of days in the Nazi zombie streets,
Yes.
building walls. That was a fun game. I'm catching up with people that are watching so far. Plump and Juicy stopping by to say hi. How you doing, Plump and Juicy? Thanks for stopping by. Francisco talking about somebody that knows how to work with.
I love
He did the Jovi burned girl from
you. He's
Fallback.
so good.
Yeah,
He's
and he
such a great
said, "Hope you're both doing well. Thank you for stopping by the stream, Francisco. Hope you're doing well." Um, the other thing that we can jump back and forth, but did that correlate with an immediate love for horror as well, or was it the specifics of the aesthetics of the makeup of transforming something that got to you?
I think that the love of horror was just more of like everybody's got a little bit of darkness inside of them, maybe some more than others, and I think that that's really beautiful in a way. And you can't have light without darkness. And then it's in the same coin, makeup is literally changing between dark and light and shadow. When it comes to changing the way your face shape, when you highlight, when you contour, that's using light and shadow to change the way that somebody looks. So I think that overall, I don't know. I think it's just one of those things that
Is that like chicken and the egg, which came first, or?
Yeah, it's like you're into one thing and you just kind of fall into the other, especially if you kind of see the beauty in darker things or kind of scary. I don't know. I love vampires, werewolves, witches, like anything you can give me that's a little bit creepy, I will take it.
Did you have to sneak around to watch those, or did you grew up just with those all over the place for you?
Well, interestingly enough, both my parents are deaf, so I kind of did whatever I wanted, and they didn't really care too much.
Okay, all right. You could turn it up as much, turn the screams and horror up as much as you wanted to.
Yeah, and they kind of didn't really care, and for a long time there was no caption on the TV. So a lot of stuff that they would be watching wouldn't have captions, so they wouldn't even know what they'd be saying. So
wow, did you have to play translator at an early age?
Oh yeah. Since I could talk, I have been translating for my parents, just at the grocery store, banks, my own doctor's appointments. Like as a little kid, I would have to make phone calls for myself, and they'd be like, "Well, is your mom home? We can't take an appointment for you if you're 6 years old." And I'm like, "My mom's deaf; she can't hear." Like,
sure, kid. Yeah, that's what they all say.
Yeah, it was really convenient in high school. Like whenever I'd get in trouble, and they'd be like, "Okay, well, we're gonna call your mom. She's gonna have to pick you up, or you're gonna get suspended, or whatever." I'm like, "Go for it. Cool. Give it a shot."
Ring a ding ding.
So yeah,
I had to do that, but because my father didn't speak English, so I would have to go to all his appointments and drive around with him and translate for him. He was a cab driver. He was a cab driver at that point, and I would sit in the front seat with him and have to translate directions, and then school and banks and whatever. Do you ever do the thing where they're telling you to tell the older person something super insulting, but you're just trying to play the line between okay, I want to do exactly what you're telling me, but I don't think it's the right thing to do to tell this person that they're full of shit?
All the time. My mom. So the thing about deaf people and deaf culture is that they are really blunt. Like they will tell you what it is, like it is. Because the thing is they have a hard time communicating with hearing people. So trying to get into a conversation and beating around the bush and stuff is just taking more time than they need. So cutting to the chase, being like, you know what, the lady with the mole on her face is the one who left her bags in the back. And I'm like, Mom, you can't say that. You can't say the lady with the mole on her face. And she's like, why not? She was with the ugly dude with the bad haircut. I'm like, Mom. Yeah. So that is literally how they act. Is just no filter, and I guess I kind of grew up with a little bit of that influence too.
I saw a post, and maybe it was even you that posted it, where it was something that a teacher of some deaf kids was telling a story about how one of the kids ripped a fart in a classroom, and they were like, "Oh, don't worry about it." And they were like, "Wait a minute, you guys could hear that?" Or like that makes a noise, and all
Yes.
the kids
Yeah.
had
Yeah. Well, like, and that's the funny thing is like, so deafness is a spectrum, just like autism is a spectrum. Pretty much any disability is a spectrum, and deafness, you can be considered deaf but still have some residual hearing. So, like, my dad is technically hard of hearing, but in legal terms, he wouldn't be able to do a job that would require a lot of hearing. So he wouldn't be a sound technician or something
right.
like that, you know. But my mom is profoundly deaf. She has zero hearing. So there's, but then again, if you bang on the walls, they can feel vibrations just like anybody could. So,
Both from birth, or did it happen to him later on in life?
yeah. So my mom was born premature. So hers was from birth. But my dad, he is from Portugal and he was born on the islands where we don't have much health care. You still go to like a witch doctor lady out there. And then he got the measles because there was no vaccines. And so getting the measles when he was 3 years old made him go deaf. So vaccinate your kids. Unless you like deaf kids, then don't,
No, we want to be more inclusive towards them, not.
Yeah.
And I have a 5-year-old nephew who's nonverbal autistic, so I've tried to sort of learn more over the last several years about spectrums and differently abled children and stuff like that. So we're trying to get some basic sign language stuff and basic signal stuff for him to use. So I thought it was incredibly interesting that you were like, you know what, I'll donate my time if somebody wants to learn.
Mhm.
Do you feel that that's like an onus? Do you want to do it so that people have an easier time of it, maybe with parents, relatives, than you did? What drives that in you?
I believe it's because it's my family. I grew up in the deaf culture. If you were to ask me what culture I identify with, it's deaf culture because both of my parents are deaf. And a lot of people are like, you can't be deaf culture if you're not deaf, but you can if you're born into the culture, which codas are, that's what we're called, children of deaf adults. Codas are in their own section where they're not deaf and they're not hearing because they grow up realizing deaf experiences and they grow up being kind of forced into this interpreter role and living between the two worlds. So I do it mainly because, number one, another one of my jobs is I am a teacher in a high school teaching sign language as well. And because if everybody knew sign language, then kids like me wouldn't really have to grow up that early. Like, I really was kind of forced to make my own appointments at a young age. So if you can let a kid be a kid, then if everybody else took a little initiative just to learn the alphabet, it would help a kid a little bit more, I think.
I mean, to a certain degree, for both, like autism, deafness, things like that. I think the world is becoming obviously technology driven. It's becoming a little bit more of a, I don't want to say welcoming, but sort of easier to manage place. Have you seen that progress? Like if you were in the same situation with your parents, you're 6 years old, but it's today. Do you think it would be that much different, your experience?
Yeah, actually, because it wasn't until I was probably like 21, 23 that to like when I went to go see a movie in theaters with my mom. Like, I had never been able to go to the movies with my parents growing up in the 90s because they just didn't have caption. And if they did have caption at the theater, it would be a one-time showing at a random time. And then the deaf people would go to the showing, it'd be captioned for them. And then I would be sitting there and all the hearing people would be talking shit and they would be like, this sucks, take the words off the TV, like what the hell?
Fuck.
And it's clearly labeled caption for hearing impaired, one showing on a Tuesday at like 11 a.m. and they're bitching about it when they only have access to one show, you know? So that's why actually a lot of deaf people watch anime and they love foreign films because
Right.
it's all already captioned and
I,
subtitled for them.
I was about to say then they should have been watching a bunch of foreign films and stuff like that,
Yeah.
or things that,
So
that
I
are.
did go see Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon in theaters with my parents, and I was just like, okay, this is great. I want to go watch a Disney movie. So
And I used to have to go watch movies that had Spanish captions with my dad because sort of this
Yeah.
similar thing. So, um, when how long did it take you, or did you just realize when you were growing up that you knew sign language like a kid would learn any other language, or did at a certain point they begin to, like, obviously it's incredibly curious to find out how two deaf people can raise a non-deaf child, and sort of in the moment that the child realizes that their parents can't hear them.
Yeah, so that was interesting. And I think I like to compare my experience to similarly like your experience where your parents don't speak English as an immigrant or whatever the situation is. And a lot of people are like, oh my God, I'm so sorry for you. Your parents are deaf. And I'm like, why would you feel sorry? It's just like if my parents didn't speak English and they only spoke Spanish. Like the same upbringing that you probably had, I had. You know, my family was great and they loved me. The moment I realized that I had deaf parents was, and not everybody had deaf parents, was when we moved away from the community we were in. We were living in Riverside County, which there's a school for the deaf in Riverside that my parents worked at. And there's a lot of deaf people there. So I thought that it was normal. Everybody had deaf parents. If you didn't have deaf parents, then like I didn't know you kind of deal. I was just in that little bubble. And then I moved to Marietta and I realized that, oh my God, we're the only people on the block who are deaf. And the newspaper came and did a story on my family. And I was like, why are they doing a story on us? Like that we're like, I didn't really get
Wow.
it. My parents were the first deaf family in the entire city or town
Wow.
of Marietta at the time. And I was like, I don't really get this. So
You
it
charge tickets
was,
to get into the house?
yeah, it was just like one of those things where we were just like, okay. And people treated us a little bit differently as well. And I don't know if you experienced this with your family, but I noticed a lot of people try to take advantage of deaf people.
Mhm.
And I would be sitting there and I'd be like, Dad, that they're charging way too much money. Like this isn't a right price for whatever the situation is, mechanic, plumber, whatever it would be. I felt like they were like gouging us because my parents couldn't really communicate it well and they just kind of saw an easy target.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you experienced that in like
Similar. I mean, I guess it would be kind of like how, like Stevie Wonder, or was it like Ray Charles used to get paid in single dollar bills because he's like, I don't want to. Just give them to me all in single so I can count them out. I don't want you to tell me this is 100 and this is a 20. I
yeah.
don't want to take advantage. I think like from what I experienced is that when I was with my mom, and she spoke English and she spoke Spanish, but when we were living in the United States, she would never allow us to speak English in the house because we spoke English everywhere else. And when we were in South America, she would speak to us in English because she knew we would be speaking Spanish everywhere else. And with my dad, he just never wanted to learn, never cared. He learned he knew Portuguese, he knew some French and Italian, some Yiddish, but he just refused to learn English. So so for me, it was kind of like, all right, I'll do my best. But I always had those situations where you're like, where is my loyalty? Because this person's telling me that what we want to do is not possible, and I'm trying to translate it in a way that's not going to get me yelled at.
Yes.
And then like I said, it's that fight, and I think it also makes you a little protective of your parents, or very protective of them, and a little combative, and maybe a little bit jealous of kids that were able to grow up with less concerns and didn't have to grow up as quick, is what I would kind of,
Absolutely.
I think those are the main similarities there, right?
Yeah, and I will say this, kids were not as mean or rude about it as the parents were.
Hmm.
I had a field trip that I was super excited to go on for fourth grade. And I was like, yeah, I want my mom to chaperone because I love my mom and it's going to be so much fun. And they actually had parents go to the teacher and complain and say, no, we don't feel our children will be safe with a deaf chaperone. And so I literally cried so hard because they wouldn't let my mom chaperone. It was so fucked up. Like, come on. She can raise kids on her own, but she can't
Yeah.
watch a few kids at a farm on a few whatever field trip.
What's she
Well,
gonna do? Gesture at them loudly? She's gonna upset them or something?
let me tell you, when a deaf woman screams, you stop where you're standing and you go wherever she wants you to go. Like, you won't be
So
running away.
she's gonna get her point across somehow, right?
Oh yeah.
So obviously that's kind of what led you to. Well, obviously that makes sense that would be the upbringing that you would have to be somebody that's a proponent for it growing up. So obviously I think it's a little bit easier right now. But I just kind of find it interesting that people. How long does it take somebody that's never tried to or have been around in that culture learn enough sign language to be able to help somebody who's deaf with directions, or be able to respond to somebody at a store that's inquiring about something?
Well, I could teach you right now enough to communicate with somebody in 10 minutes, literally. But would you be confident enough to go up to a deaf person and help them? That's up to you. So, I mean, within ASL 1, after maybe 3 lessons with my students, they learn enough to help a deaf person out. They learn enough to communicate a little bit, like, hi, my name is whatever. How are you? Can I help you? Do you do you want this? Do you want that? Where's the bathroom? You know what I mean? Like, enough of that in like 3 or 4 classes.
Mm-hmm.
But would you feel comfortable going up to them? Probably not. I think they start to gain a lot more confidence in sign language in ASL 2, which is, I would say, 30 lessons total.
Okay.
ASL 1 is 15, ASL 2 is 15, so 30. And then if they're like after that, if they were
and each lesson is about an hour and a half,
an hour long, yeah. And that's for my high school students. I also teach, I do lessons on YouTube that are free, and those are like 5 or 10 minutes, and usually geared more towards if you work in a coffee shop and you want to know just the ASL to help a person with coffee. I teach you that. If you're a paramedic, I teach emergency signs, things you would want to know if someone's bleeding or whatever, like, what's your, do you know your name? How old are you? Whatever. And then, so I teach a lot of those on YouTube, but a regular class with me at the high school I work at is going to be an hour. And I would say ASL 4 is when they really know that they know sign language, they feel confident in it, confident ASL 2, but they're also way more confident in 4. And I would say not fluent, but good enough to hold a conversation.
What is the difference between, or what is the, because I think, and this is a segment that I call ignorant questions, because things that I have no idea about, but how much of ASL is spelling things out for people as opposed to one-off motions or signs that mean very specific things? Is it a combination of those, or how do you think it's split?
Yeah, so it's a combination. I can actually SimCom right now if you want.
During
the interview. So you can see the whole time I'm signing until I really fingerspell, and this is fingerspelling. So most of the time fingerspelling is names or places, words that don't have a sign, and just kind of like terms that are like more medical, more scientific. So it really just depends on like what we're talking about. So during our interview, I can just sign, and then you'll see what needs to be fingerspelled.
So C, right?
C, yeah.
Time.
Right.
Hey,
you got it.
I'm learning. I'm picking things up as I go along.
I also have the alphabet for you to cheat too.
Nice. No, I've been what I do. I mean, what I do once in a while is I'll put my Netflix credits or on different languages to try to just pick up like little stuff. Like I'll just watch a show, but they have the captions in German or something else, and I'll just sort of be like, oh, okay, I'm getting it a little bit. But yeah, I guess if you're telling somebody that they can spend an hour, 2 hours, maybe 5 to 10 hours to be able to have something that they carry with them for the rest of their lives, where they can meet people along their path and make their day a little bit better, right? I mean, that's kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah, yeah. And so I'll say, yeah, you can learn enough in 5 hours, but if you don't practice, you're going to lose it.
Right. Like any other language.
Yeah. So if you're not practicing, I've seen like my cousin, she was in ASL 4, she could sign, she interpreted for a little bit, and then she just didn't use it. And, you know, she still understands a lot, but you know, sometimes I have to like correct her and be like, no, or she'll ask me, she's like, the sign again? And, you know, I don't have a choice to forget it.
No, it's ingrained in you.
Yeah.
Is there such a thing as like slang or accent when signing?
Oh yeah. So if you're from so I was just watching a TikToker, a deaf TikToker, and she was saying like South Texas, they really do a little slow sign. West Coast, like California, they'll be like very gestured and very acting with their signs. New York is more like
to the point,
just smooth though, like good but smooth. Because that's where Gallaudet University is, the only deaf liberal arts college in the world. So that's where my mom and dad met, and they graduated from there. So it's like if you're deaf, you want to go there. But yeah, so they're really more smooth. They're really where like the ASL really develops in our language. So if there's a new term, so like the word chill, it's developed there. Like, because that's where, you know, college kids, they want to chill. You want to chill?
How about burrito?
Burrito, but it kind of looks weird.
That's what they chose for burrito. How about like scrumptious? Like, you know,
that's
like,
what my mom does. That's what my mom does. I have to see what the newer terms, because like I said, like it's always changing. Just yesterday, I asked my mom, I said, Mom, what's the sign for avocado? Because my whole life she told me it was avocado. And I saw that it's changed to this. And she's like, oh, I think it's this one still. And I was like, no, it's not. Changed. So even I'm correcting her on like what I'm learning and what I'm getting into as well. You'll always have to kind of improve yourself.
Especially on a, you know, and I would think that on a movie set, it would be, you know, when there's room tone or when people need to be quiet, or if you're across the, I mean, it seems like a no-brainer for people to want to learn something like that. Something you could be sneaky when you're talking about somebody, unless there's other deaf people there in the mix. Have you found yourself in a position where you're signing with somebody and then you notice somebody kind of like eyeballing you and like being like, and you're like, oh, I know you can, I know you understand me.
Always. Or I'll be chatting with my mom and like people will come up to us and be like, hi, I'm learning ASL. My name, blah, blah, blah. And my mom's like, nice to meet you. And I'm just like, we're waiting in line here. So that happens all the time. But my mom's really sweet about it. Some deaf people, I mean, most of them are nice, but some of them, they're busy and you're bothering them. So if you get like a response like, okay, obviously it would be like if I went up to you and been like, hola, I don't know. That's all I know in Spanish. But you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I'm learning Spanish, and you'd be like, cool, dude.
Yeah, all right, cool.
Whatever. So.
I try to be like respectful of the people that are like, hey, can you talk to me in Spanish? Because I can go back and forth, switch back and forth, and stuff like that, where I don't even know if I'm speaking and thinking in Spanish or speaking or thinking. Is there such a thing as thinking in ASL?
Yes. Well, I don't know. I don't know, because ASL is processed on the right side of the brain, whereas art and visual languages. So, but verbal languages is on the left side of the brain. So when you are speaking, you're using the left side. When you are signing, you're using the right. So when you're processing ASL, You're going back and
Go back and
forth.
forth.
So it really just depends on what you're looking at. But I will say that, like, I did a study in college where they like studied my brain because sign language, first language, whatever. And they told me that I had, or at least CODAs or deaf people have really good peripheral vision because they're constantly looking. Like, I could be staring you in the face, but I'll know what your hands are doing because I'm just used to watching. And they actually say that CODAs make the best, like, I don't want to say, not like CIA agents, but like
Code breakers or something, or analysts.
like for if they're questioning someone, if they're lying. So when they do like cops, if they need to question somebody because they read body language, like I can tell you if you hate me within just looking at you and the way that your body acts towards me, and or even just how you feel. Like if I think that if you for some reason feel a little sick, I can literally tell it from the way that you're standing. So
Well, they always say that, like if aliens were coming down and observing us, they would think that like 90% of our communication is nonverbal, and there's a little
mhm.
talking to be sure. So I mean, or 99% if you're Italian, or what
Yeah.
is it? But do you? I guess it's just kind of like interesting that you have that very very unique experience and perspective.
Mhm.
Let's see. Yes. Okay. We have a Christina Martin says yes. Zoey, the interrogator. Thank you for
Yes.
Now, so you've been in a position then I would assume when somebody's feeding you a line. Is that still the bullshit one? The
So this is the old school
the old
bullshit.
school bullshit.
Very people love this version, but most deaf people use bullshit.
Bullshit.
That's
Okay,
bullshit.
just straight
I
up.
want to say. So
But you've been in a position where somebody's giving you a load of bullshit and you're just like,
yeah,
no, I can see what you're telling me a bunch more stuff without
yeah,
speaking, right?
yeah. And I look at them and I'm like, okay,
Okay. I see what you're doing.
yeah.
I'm gonna let you spit your bullshit and then I'll get back to you. Um no, I think that's super interesting. Like do you feel that okay, wait, I had another question about that, which is, do most people that learn ASL also learn to read lips, or are they completely different from each other? I mean, obviously they're
So
different from each other, but do they go along with each other, or do they mix people up if they try to do both?
yes and no. Mouth morphemes, which means like your mouth moving in ASL, is a big part of it. There's 5 parameters of ASL: your hand shape, your palm orientation, your movement, your placement on your body for your hand, and your mouth morpheme, where your mouth is making. So the sign pa means finally. If you wanted to say something large, that means like large. So there is like its own syntax and its own kind of nonverbal mouth morphemes, but lip reading cues for certain signs. But some people, like myself, especially if I'm signing to my new students, I will mouth the words and it helps a lot. But you have to understand, if a deaf person reads lips, it doesn't mean that that's their full communication. Reading lips is only the best lip reader, maybe 20% can be read on lips. That's it. Like, it's
20.
really, really, really not a reliable mode of communication.
So you can't bring the lip reader with you to the barbershops to see who's talking shit about you or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like,
I will say I can read lips. I mean, a deaf person better than me, but I can read lips pretty well because my hearing is kind of going down too, just from, hereditary and everything. So, but it's not anywhere near what a deaf person could do. But I will say, not every deaf person is the same. Not everybody can read lips. But then again, not every deaf person knows sign language. Some of them only read lips because their parents, it's actually a really sad thing that has been going on in the deaf community. But a child born to hearing parents, they back in the day, they were forced to be oralized. And what that means is they would either put their hands under their seat when they're in school, or they would not be allowed to sign at all, and they had to either speak or read lips the entire time, which is outlawed now because it is inhibiting children from learning a language that is designed for them.
It's torturous.
It is. It absolutely is. It's my dad went through it, and he, when he graduated, he grew up and went back to the school, and he said, this is a bullshit program. You guys suck, and this is messed up. I was like, Dad, you actually went there? He's like, yeah, they need to know it doesn't work. And I was like, okay, Dad, but it's terrible. But some people only read lips because they were forced into oralized programs, or they get a cochlear implant, which parent thinks that, oh, I just fixed my child. I just spent 25 grand. I fixed them. They can hear now. No, the cochlear implant helps hearing a little bit, but it's not perfect. They don't understand it. They don't understand a lot of words that come through. And still, when you take it off at night, when the batteries run out, you're deaf. It's a tool, but it doesn't work perfectly. And hearing people, they love that video when the baby gets the cochlear implant turned on, and they're like, oh my God, I'm going to cry. But they don't know that the horror behind it, because that kid, most of the deaf people I know grow up and never use them again, never touch them again. And they hate the fact that they have a steel plate in their head. And also, a majority of cochlear implants are botched, and kids end up getting brain damage when they get their cochlear implants put in. And then their doctors are like, oh, sorry. Well, you know what? That was probably at birth anyways, because they do them on kids that are so little that their nerves aren't even developed half the way.
Yeah, I mean, if they have the technology, why wouldn't they allow the child to learn a language that they're going to carry with them for their whole life? That'll help them if anything else fails, as opposed to just trying to force people into being like, no, this is what normal is. Let's try to force this on there with technology, right?
Yeah. And sorry, I'm like really, really passionate about like cochlear implants. I hate them, but I started my college career in audiology, and I quickly reverted back to the deaf culture because I was like, oh, I'm going to see what it's about. And then I learned all about it, and I was like, no.
Zoey, I invited you because I thought you were an interesting person. So please speak about anything that you're passionate about, because I like I said, like I was just like, okay, I just thought it was super interesting that somebody would take the time to put this out in the world. And now knowing your story, obviously it makes a lot more sense. But yeah, what is that the major sort of fight in the community about like how to treat children that are deaf that are born to hearing parents?
Yeah. So the main thing is that when a hearing family first finds out that they have a deaf kid, you go straight to a doctor, right? Of course. And the problem is that hearing doctors don't know anything about ASL. And so they're like, well, I know that we can get them a cochlear implant. We can get them to an audiologist. Why would you take away money from the medical machine that America loves to have?
Right.
25 grand to put a cochlear implant in a kid, that is a lot of money that doctor is making for referring you to do that. And then they also are saying, well, for the cochlear implant to work, we need to focus on talking to them. So don't sign to them because they're going to use that as a crutch. But in a sense, you are pretty much forbidding your child to learn a language that is created for them. Again,
it's probably like most languages, I would assume, because I mean, I learned English without knowing how to learn English. When I first got to this country, I would just watch a ton of TV and listen to everybody. And my mom said one day I was just like, and I just started, and it was like I didn't say a word until I had it, and I was a kid. I was like 6, 7 years old, and I was gone. So I would assume it's a lot easier to learn sign language as a kid.
It is. You can start signing at 4 months old. I've seen the youngest. So before your vocal cords even develop, you can start moving your hands, obviously, as a baby. So knowing milk, more, whatever other, like some baby signs are. So like there's more milk, food. I don't know, like they pat on their diaper if they have to go to the bathroom, but this is poop, they learn that early. So it really just depends on what the parents teach them. And a lot of hearing people are teaching their kids baby signs, and I think it's wonderful. I know a lot of deaf people have a little bit of conflicting political views on that, but I think whatever helps a kid like communicate is important. The issue is they're saying that, oh, hearing people are teaching baby signs and then they don't want to learn sign language after. But it's like, dude, I mean, communication for children is the biggest like thing that we need to go for. So like, what's wrong with that? Like, stop like me in the community. It's not about you. It's about learning and communicating, you know?
Awesome. All right. We're talking with Zoey Hendrix, makeup artist, horror and anime fan, and ASL teacher here. We're going to catch up here with the comments. Somebody else here, Ellie says, hi,
Ellie,
Auntie.
that's my niece. Well, it's my sister, but Ellie's my niece, and she signs.
Nice. And our friend in Slave by Vegetable says, I'm still learning English. Yeah, it sounds like a personal problem, Kurt. That's my boy Kurt that does a lot of music for us. Thanks for stopping by, Kurt. So I guess what you're here to say is, well, here's another question. Is there a certain segment of the deaf community that might want to keep that for themselves, that don't want to be bothered, that want to just sort of live in their own universe without being intruded upon? Like you said, if you just because you took 2 classes of ASL, that doesn't mean you go to somebody and you're like, hey, what's up? Use it when you need to, but don't go out of your way to sort of involve yourself in their life. Is that a thing?
Yes, absolutely. There are some people who call themselves the deaf elite. If you've seen the show Deaf U, it's about Gallaudet University, the one that I told you about, that it follows the students or whatever. And the deaf elite are people who were born in the deaf community, or they were raised and they were going to deaf schools, residential schools, which is different from being mainstreamed. When you're mainstreamed, you go to a hearing school, a regular high school, one that you and I went to, versus a deaf school is deaf kids, deaf teachers, deaf janitors, deaf counselors, like everybody at the school is deaf. So that's considered deaf elite. And those people definitely feel a little bit superior. And they also feel very protective of their language. They feel very protective of their culture and their community. I walk the fence on this because I am protective of the culture, protective of the language in the community, but I also think we need to share it and we need to spread it, because spreading awareness allows for more access and for more people to learn sign language. You know, if you continue to close yourself off in your community, you will not have any access and you'll be at the reliance of interpreters. Whereas if more people are aware of the deaf culture, aware that it is a culture, aware of sign language, then you might be able to have a wonderful meal with a waitress who knows sign language completely and changes the way you experience things, you know?
Absolutely. We're talking live with Zoey Hendrix. We're talking about ASL, makeup artist, anime. We're going to talk about anime, Japanese culture, horror movies in a second. We're going to take a quick 30 to 45-second break, Zoey, if that's okay with you. Yeah. And then we're going to come back. And if you have any questions for Zoey about ASL, about how to learn it, about where to go for resources, we'll post some of those at the end. If you want to put those in the private chat where people can go to see your videos, I'll put those up as well. And we're going to be back in 1 minute with more Fireside Chats with Big Chief Burrito. We'll be right back. That was more dramatic. I thought that was a better segue for us.
Yes.
We are back. Fireside Chats live on a Tuesday. Zoey Hendrix, makeup artist, ASL teacher. Want to make sure everybody, thank you everybody for so far that's tuned in and for watching the stream. As always, make sure that if you do want to be notified when we go live, you follow us on facebook.com/2am burrito. To watch me play some video games and get pwned, go to twitch.tv/2am burrito. I also stream the interviews there. And to catch up with all our old films and all my old podcasts and everything, youtube.com/2am burrito. Find us there. Give this stream a like or a share if you like. And then after we get done with the streams, we always put the pods up on bigchiefburrito.podbean.com. But actually, if you're on Spotify, if you're on Google Podcasts, all you have to do is look for the 2am Burrito podcast, and eventually the episode with Zoey will be there. And we have at Zoey Sensei.
Yeah.
And both Instagram and on TikTok is where you can and YouTube, right? Where people can
Zoey Sensei, TikTok Zoey Sensei. My Instagram is the White Geisha, but that's okay. The sign language is all on TikTok and YouTube. So
I think TikTok is somewhere where you could definitely make a presence in terms of just like being able to do quick little. This is what this is what that. Have you found a nice following, a nice niche there?
Yeah, actually, I have gotten a lot of love and support on TikTok. It's crazy. That's what pushed me to make my YouTube channel and to start posting more about sign language. I'm almost at 100,000 followers, like overnight almost. So,
Damn.
Yeah, I started like 3 months ago. So it's been a journey on there.
I did a TikTok experiment where I didn't post anything and just didn't I just wanted to see what TikTok's default like platform was, and there was just so much of this and movements and so much dancing and like short tutorials that didn't teach you much.
Well, I'm on anime TikTok, so
okay, there you go.
Stuff.
Anime TikTok is a thing.
It is, and I love it. So
Enslaved by Vegetables, very interesting. I would actually like to learn sign language. Well, Mr. Enslaved by Vegetables, you can. It'd only take you, I'm saying somewhere between 10 and 30 hours of your life to have a language that you can carry with you for the rest of your life. So make sure that you guys, Kurt, you're on TikTok all the time. Go follow Zoey Sensei and, learn a thing or two. Mm-hmm. Make you a stronger musician to be able to talk with other musicians on stage, right? I mean, there's like a billion uses for it other than being a compassionate human being, being a more learned human being, being able to step into situation and be a hero. Okay, you're on a date with a hot girl. There's a stranded deaf person that needs your help. You're a fucking hero. You're a fucking hero, man.
You've been to it, dude.
But where we met and I want to kind of get to your prowess as a makeup and special effects master. Is when we worked on a movie called Fallback. So I have a clip from the film that I wanted to show that showcases some of your work, and away we go. This is our friend Dominic.
I loved this guy.
The Lermy.
He was funny to work on. He was super hilarious.
We had an incredible makeup team. Francisco, Rachel Gallenberg, Crystal, yourself.
The best of the best.
Oh, man, I love that shot of Lexi.
Mm-hmm.
And here we see I was like, can we chop off some of his fingers? Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. We got you.
Absolutely.
Fuck those assholes.
Fuck those assholes.
Forget.
There's some plot twists here. If you guys haven't watched the whole movie, but it's all right. Let's see if I can skip to where you shoot it. There's the fingers. Look at that! Oh my god!
It's just gonna be all over me.
I love that I wrote that he was like thinking that he was gonna get laid because he had two fingers less.
Oh no!
All right, there you go.
Fucking real.
And here's the drown girl. My regret about this movie is we got a little too glitchy with instead of letting the characters be a little thing, but
yeah,
here's a little.
Though.
Yeah, absolutely, still looks cool. that was Dominic Lexi and with some of Zoe's work. Now, we worked together on that. It was a 72-hour project. We had an iconic location. I was able to secure a really top-notch 4-person makeup team. So we had like people working on camera ready. We had you and Francisco working on these ghosts that I have. And I also often talk about when people work with makeup artists or they have them and the difference between having somebody work for you for free as opposed to collaborating with somebody. So, you know, I always, like I say, if I'm lucky enough to have you jump on my project and say, yeah, it's a competition, it's a horror competition, I'm in, I'm down, I'll show up, I'll bring my kit, I'll work. Obviously, I'm going to feed you, but if I'm collaborating with you at that level, I have to let you sort of do what you do best. So with you and with Francisco, I said, listen, I'm imagining this girl and she's half burned, half not. And with you, I was like, I need a drowned girl and I need to make this guy look beat up and I want to cut off some of his fingers. And you do it the way you want to do it, right? That's a lot better than basically somebody being basically thinking that because you're working with them and collaborating that they're just going to micromanage you, right?
Yeah, and I appreciated that. It was so much fun to just kind of get into it, like get it out, and especially going outside with Lexi. And working with her was so awesome. She's such an amazing actress, and also her husband John. I love him so much too. He's such a great makeup artist. But getting to meet her and work with her and just getting to meet everybody on set was really great. I think that was the first time I met Francisco, and he is phenomenal. Like, he is so amazing. His burn victim is like, that's one of his works that I first saw, and I was like, wow, this dude actually is amazing. Like, just so much talent on set. And then, of course, you said it was at an iconic location like the Lafayette. It was so beautiful to film there. I always love working at that location whenever I get a chance to. I've done like a few fashion shows there or whatever, but like, it's such a nice location in the middle of San Diego.
No, yeah, and we had a cabana for 2 days that they gave us to be able to mess around in and just to like work in. And I'm pulling up Francisco's picture right here. So you got to give me 1 second. There's the dress. There's the burn victim Jovi, and we had her like fully decked out. That's some really good work right there too.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the thing is when you're dealing with people and when you're collaborating, I always say if you're going to approach a makeup artist and it's a collaborative project, you cannot micromanage them. You can't say this and that. I honestly recommend that people say, like, okay, we're doing a horror movie. There's this makeup artist, and they're like, okay, you're a starting filmmaker. I'm a makeup artist that wants to get some more stuff. I think the smartest thing to do is to ask them what, especially when it's horror related, what haven't you done yet that you want to do that will kind of make you buy into this process and that will look cool on film for me, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought so the difference between like me and Rachel and Crystal and Francisco. So since we were doing more special effects, me and Francisco are a little bit more in the same category there, but Francisco does a lot of really great horrific stuff. He's got a great mind for that type of stuff. And whereas I personally, I love doing more realistic wounds. So chopping fingers off, bullet holes, cuts, scrapes, bruises, stuff like that, that really look like something that would happen, especially like with what, was going on in the film. And then especially when it came to the burn victim, that was really in Francisco's arena. So I think like the characters as well, like the way that we separated them or you separated us, really worked well for the film because it played on our strengths. Because obviously, like, yes, there he is. He did a phenomenal job, and he was honestly the only person who could have done it that well.
Yeah.
And on the team. I could have gave it my best shot, but he was really the one who was meant to do that.
Yeah, if I would have told him do the drown girl and chop off the fingers, and it would have been a completely different right? I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, I think you both could have done the other thing.
Yes, exactly. But I don't think it would have worked out as well as it did. I don't think it would have. And I know Francisco can do realistic, but that's kind of something I really like doing. So I'm happy that I got a chance to take that on and get that under my belt.
Yeah, and I remember just walking in and out of the cabana, like running around with my head cut off because they're literally we have run of the place, but we could only use the pool during this time, and we could use this at this time. So in my mind, I'm just like, okay, we can do this scene first, do this scene first, and that we had an awesome team on that. But I would walk by outside of the thing, and you're just out there with Lexi, just all happy, just like do airbrushing her and doing like stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys good? You're like, yeah, we're good. All right, cool. Let me take a picture of you. Boom, as you were.
Yeah.
What do you get a makeup artist for Christmas?
Well, you could always use more brushes. I feel like I always go through brushes, especially on special effects. Maybe not a beauty makeup artist. They probably know exactly what they want. But if they're into special effects, I feel like I'm always blooding up my brushes. They're not used again. Not able to be used again, or prosthetics, because we go through prosthetics a lot.
A special effects, like, is that like just a bunch of latex, or do you need what is the main product that you guys use?
It really depends on the person and their medium. Latex is definitely used a lot, but that's kind of more. It depends on the person, but when I was at Hollywood Makeup Academy, we were using a lot of Prozade, a lot of prosthetics, alcohol activated paints, as well as water-based paints for the airbrush machine to do full body and kind of create a monster out of whatever our project was at the time. We had different things we had to do, but I would say prosthetics, adhesive, and paint. For brushes, of course. I ran through brushes. So
for your skill set, is there a certain amount of knowledge about just people's skins, tones, textures, etc., that you have to learn as a baseline before you can branch off into very specific horror and special effects type deals?
Yeah, absolutely. So if a person has really sensitive skin, that's going to change the way that we approach the way that we apply the prosthetic, the way that we cover with any type of makeup, beauty or special effects. If you're working on children, some of the products that you would use on an adult that's going to stay longer, you really don't want to use on a kid's skin because they are going to, rub their eyes or something like that. Whereas an adult is a little bit more conscious of not touching the prosthetic or the paint or whatever you're using. With a kid, you're going to want to use something a little bit less like water.
Toxic.
Yeah, I wouldn't say toxic because it's not all. I mean, you want to use water-based versus alcohol activated.
Got it.
That chemical, you just don't want alcohol on a kid. You'd rather just use water and have.
Well, that's a lot of trial and error because you hear those horror stories about the people that used to get like painted in gold for old Hollywood movies and with lead paint that would like die and shit like that, right?
Yeah. Oh my God. And like also the same can be said on all sets, on all different types of things, because when you're using special effects with like explosives and things like that, it just really depends on how experienced you are. So sometimes I will make like a squib or, like a gunshot squib or whatever. And if it doesn't go off, I don't use any gunpowder or anything like that. But if it doesn't go off properly, that's going to totally ruin the shot. And so you always have to think about safety and where you are and in the proximity of what
you ever find yourself telling somebody don't stand next to an open flame? I just did a bunch of
No, well, I don't think I've ever used any fire in my stuff. More so what I am used to is like standing between a guy's legs, ready to squeeze the blood out and then like have it all on top of me.
Oh, you guys are such an integral part of any. I mean, I try to. And we used to do a podcast, Indie Apocalypse, which is about indie filmmaking, and I always sort of said, like, listen, on any project that you do, there's going to be times and places where you can and cannot spend money on certain things. So if it's a romantic comedy and you only have budget for this or that, then yeah, maybe you can get away with having people come to set makeup ready. But if you're in a horror movie or something else, action, then you're better off spending that money on that on the makeup artist, on their kit fee, number one at least,
Yeah.
plus materials, etc., and paying them to be able to put that money on the screen, right? So I'm assuming you, like other makeup artists that I've talked to, say, people ask me all the time, how can I chop this person's arm off? And they're like, you need this, 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 this.
Like, I don't got no money for it.
And it's going to cost you this, 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 this. And they're like,
yeah.
I can't. I was like, well.
All the time. All the time. When I explain to them how much a prosthetic costs just for whatever they're looking for, they're like, can you just do it with like latex and toilet paper? I think I saw it on YouTube.
Tutorial.
Yeah. And I'm like, yes, but it's not the same.
It's not how it works. And I don't like you that much.
Yeah.
Is there some big thing that you want to do that you haven't been able to?
I've always wanted to do a full cow. I had a project and I forget what it was or with who or whatever. And they had promised me that I was going to get to do I was going to get to do like a weight transformation. So from a skinny person to a fat person. And I had this full cow prepared, like bald head with everything like that. And they canceled. So now I just have this prosthetic that I've always wanted to use and I have nothing to use it for.
All right, we'll find a place to put it at some point. What does a post-COVID world look like for a makeup artist? From have you been on any projects on set? Are you just kind of laying back and taking it easy? Have you heard of stories from other makeup artists about what it's like?
Yes. So Crystal, who we worked with before, Crystal Sierra, I think her last name is, I don't know if that's her real last name, but she has developed, or her mom created these plastic wraps for the makeup artist director chairs that you can wipe down in between actors. And I thought that was so ingenious to do. And her mom, I think her mom sells them or makes them or whatever. But I think that is kind of where it's going. I know that on other productions, like anything for MTV, I believe it is, they require you to get a COVID test before you even start shooting. Everyone on set actors, everyone. So I think that the world of makeup, but not just makeup, the world of film is going to go towards either vaccination, but still having masks, still wiping things down, sanitizing, and then depending on the project or the company, mandatory COVID testing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I was talking to Dave again about Dave Callen's a comedian locally about Comic-Con, and I was like, can you picture next year Comic-Con? Because there's a difference between preview night and Friday at 2:00 in the afternoon. And Friday at 2:00 in the afternoon at Comic-Con, there is somebody within 2 inches of your face anytime you're walking down any of the aisles. And I don't know how they could justify charging people to come to that environment unless, if you were going to tell me every day was going to be like preview night where they're still packed, but people have a little bit of space, not 6 feet, mind you, but maybe like 2 or 3 feet per person, then I would say that that's a possibility. But, if the vaccines are going to get rolled out within a couple of weeks and it's going to take at least 6 months to get any sort of break into it, do you see a scenario where you would be comfortable walking around the convention center, let's say July next year?
So yes, because I'm already hoping and praying for it. I
need it. You can't take it away from me for 2 years in a row.
Well, I know. Well, for me, I love outside of Comic-Con, but inside of Anime Expo or Anime LA. But I think that masks still need to be mandatory. And I have seen people trying to incorporate them into their cosplay. And I think that would be a really good idea.
It should be easy for Comic-Con people.
Yeah. That would be awesome if you just
Just have 30,000 Sub-Zeros.
Yeah. And I'm not the person to ask about this medically, but I don't understand why we can't still have events if everyone just wears a mask and just washes their hands, you
Right.
know? Like, I would be down with that. I'll wear a mask the whole day if I can, wear an anime cosplay. If I can wear a little schoolgirl outfit with a knife, like, I'll do anything.
I'll do it. What I'm gonna miss most about Comic-Con is going to the parties and events and seeing nerds in the bathroom doing like giant lines of cocaine, because that's always the weird the weird, like these nerdy guys back there, and
Yeah.
they're like, hey, what's going on? And I'm like,
This is the only
whoa.
time of year we can do this. We just dropped 10 grand on Comic-Con.
We're gonna do it up San Diego style. I'm like, all
Nerds
right,
have
man.
that kind of money though, and I love
Yeah.
it. That's how I am. I drop.
Yeah.
I mean, on alcohol alone in the VIP lounge, I usually spend like $500.
Fuck.
Yeah,
Hey, man, you gotta party hard, right? Fuck it.
but those Naruto shots go down so good.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit about kind of your love of like Japanese culture, and how you feel that, like, we talked about earlier about people getting mad at people for liking a band for the wrong reasons or getting into something for the wrong reasons, which is a little bit of hateration.
Mhm.
But where is that something that just started with the anime for you, or how how has that progressed, and how is your goal of learning Japanese going?
So I believe it all started. I mean, anime was a big influence too, but also Neighbors being Korean and Japanese. And then Memoirs of a Geisha came out, and that's where the white geisha screen name came from back in the day. But the Japanese culture thing for me is, I think it's just such a beautiful culture. I think that they respect each other a lot more than what I grew up with being an American. I see there's a lot of collectivism in the culture as well. Like, it's not a single person who, it's everyone. We're here for the nation. We're here for.
They actually think about each other.
Yeah, exactly. It's also courtesy. They have a lot of common courtesy. Like, they have respect. Like, in America, I can't tell you how many times, and it's so annoying, where people just stand in the middle of the walkway, just standing there talking, or in the middle of the store talking to two Karens are talking with their kids hanging out of the cart. Whereas in Japan, you have to step over to the side. If you're just standing like on an escalator, you stand over to the side, you walk up on the left, It's just things like that that are very respectful, and they care. Another thing is just the language and stuff. I mean, watching anime, you were talking about how you learned English from TV and how you just started speaking it. That's kind of how I am with understanding Japanese. Like, I don't know sentence structure. I don't know, I was able to speak it when I went to Japan, but not confident enough to carry on a conversation. Like, I had a small conversation with an older couple in the middle of a forest in Japan, and I felt so proud. And I basically was like, "What's the name of your dog? He's so cute. Thank you. No, we're fine. We don't need directions," in Japanese. And they were like, "Okay." And they understood me, and I was like, "Oh, so much power." So,
I'm gonna take over the world.
yeah, that was.
Now, does anybody giving you shit for that moniker for the white geisha? Or no?
Yeah, actually, once I got on, I never, not for years. I've had that name since MySpace. I've had that name since Memoirs of a Geisha came out, for years. And then I got on TikTok, and this bitch was out for me. And she was like, "The white geisha, you're culturally appropriating Japanese culture." And then I had a video because I made a Japanese garden with like things that I brought back from Japan, and I made like a little Zen garden, and it looked badass. And she's like, "Look, you even decorate your house by stealing Japanese culture stuff." And I'm like, okay, first off, I mean, no disrespect. Every single Asian person, every single Japanese person that I meet thinks that it is cute and they understand that I have a complete respect for the culture and an obsession. I think it's beautiful, like as of all the reasons I said before. And people that I've asked about it have never told me that they felt I was culturally appropriating them, and I do it in the most respectful way. It's not like I'm talking shit on it or making fun of it. I'm more so embracing it and loving it and like showing like passion for it. So I don't know. I blocked that bitch.
It's a strange world. Because I was like, the reason I started using Big Chief Burrito, I was like, well, my clan is the burrito team. Like, I just named my production company something silly about a burrito at 2 a.m, which is a time and a place. It's not even something that's tangible. It's just like a feeling, right? So and I had a position where I was a boss at a company, and people would call me boss and chief and stuff like that. So I was like, Big Chief Burrito. But then even before I started using it, I was like, well, am I going to get shit on this? I mean, do I have to go back and prove that my South American roots include like indigenous people and like things like that? So I think it's like a fine line between appropriating and being respectful of the culture and appreciating it and not using it as something to like further yourself at, right? It's kind of like it's a thin line, but I think most people just try to find a reason to be mad.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I don't understand how my own personal garden in my backyard can be used to further myself. I love it because it's beautiful. And when I go out there and I sit and I look at it, it makes me happy. So I don't give a fuck what you think, little whatever your name is on TikTok, who I don't have anymore, but
no clout for her. Plus, Japanese culture is one that does have things that they really hold on to, that they incorporate into their culture. Obviously, everybody's seen like the videos and stuff of like the Japanese like cholo culture, where they got the low riders and the chola makeup and stuff like that, and they do it and they're not saying like, oh, this is my new style and and blah blah. They're like, look, we really like how these Chicanas in LA are dressing, and these dudes in Southern California rock with their fucking clothes and their rims and their hoodies and their hats and the way they do their makeup and the tattoos and everything, and we're into it, right?
Yeah.
No reason to
hate. Don't give a shit if Japanese people are doing it. They're like, fuck yeah.
What was funny was that that movie came out with what's this, the kid from Transformer, what's his name? The Just Do It. Shia LaBeouf was playing like a white kid that grew up in LA, but that grew up around Mexicans. And if you grew up in Southern California, you there's always the one down white dude that was with the Mexicans, stuff like that. And they I think it was BuzzFeed or something, were trying to drop these articles where it was like, oh, backlash over Shia LaBeouf playing a brown face character, and to a T, every Latino Mexican person was like, we ain't got no problem with it.
Yeah,
we're like,
they don't give a shit.
He's cool with us.
Yeah,
that's even Steven. He's been down since forever.
Exactly. Well, and that's what I was gonna say. So I went to San Diego State. That's where I graduated from, and we're the Aztecs. And every college football team that's something to do with any type of native name has been changing, things like that. But the Aztecs stay the same, I think, because Mexicans don't give a shit.
Right.
They're like, dude, who cares? That's pretty.
Yeah. My college basketball team used to be the Red Men, and then they changed it to the Red Storm. You know what, the Cleveland Indians logo is a little bit on the nose, and the Braves had the tomahawk chop that they used to do back in the day, which was a little there's certain aspects of it that you can clean up. The Redskins just were forced to change their name. Now they're just a Washington football team. So there are certain places where I think that sort of fervor is needed, and it's good for society. But then when people just try to mandate all these little things to be right all the time, it's a little frustrating.
And I agree. I think a lot of, especially with the Native Americans, or whatever they want to be called, because I think it's indigenous people now, but whatever politically correct term it is, they deserve to get whatever they personally want. If they like the name, then keep the name. If they don't like it, then don't like it. I think that it should be up to the culture to decide whether or not they care, about the appreciation, cultural appreciation, whatever is going on. You know, I think give it up to them. So
Absolutely. We're talking with Zoey Hendrix, makeup artist, ASL teacher, horror and anime fan. We've done an hour and 20 minutes. We're wrapping this up. I only have a couple more questions for you, Zoey.
yes.
Are you aware of the KFC Lifetime movie?
KFC Lifetime movie? No, I've never heard of it.
What is it? The guy from Mario, the guy from
Oh my god, yeah, I saw something about that.
he's playing like a sexy Colonel Sanders.
Oh my god, yeah, I saw that. I don't know. I don't really watch that type of stuff. Like I said, animated or horror movies.
It's crazy. All right. Are there any Christmas staples or movies that you have to watch to get yourself into the season?
Christmas staple movies? So
or holiday with the family movies, like, is that different for you? Obviously, that's going to be different for you.
So I don't know. We don't really watch holiday movies, but I mean, my favorite Christmas movie is probably Krampus.
That's my Santa Louis from Trading Places, where he's eating the salmon from the.
I don't know. Never seen it. I don't really watch
Trading Places. You haven't seen?
No, I really just started watching like Christmas movies. I watch Christmas horror movies, so like Krampus and 30 Days a Night and stuff like that.
You got my Hans Gruber.
What's
Die
that?
Hard. Hans Gruber from Die Hard?
No.
Okay. All right.
No Christmas movies, I'm telling you. If you want a Halloween movie, I've seen those.
Okay. Right. Now,
Christmas.
Here's a this or that question for you. Okay, you ready?
All right.
You get a top makeup artist job at a mid-tier horror studio, maybe like a Blumhouse, but a little bit lower tier than that, right?
Yeah.
Head makeup artist, design, right? Or we are in a simulation and you get to live 1 hour a week in your favorite anime show, fully engaged and fully live for 1 hour a week. You get to plug in. You're an anime character. You get to play around. Let's say 2 hours a week, because 1 hour is 2 hours. You play around a week. Then you go back. You go back to reality, to your regular ass job.
That's it. That's the answer.
That's it. You plug it in.
There's no thing in the world that you could give me that would be better.
Then plug it in. Then get into it. All right, cool, excellent. All right, and the last bit of the evening that I do with all my guests is I create something called a bracket bit. Let me just catch up on here. Kurt says they have beer vending machines in Japan. Everything is done by the honor system. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And he said his favorite Christmas movie is Bill Murray and Scrooge. All right, I'll see you. So today, for your bracket bit, I have chosen to put you in a contest of anime franchises versus horror franchises. So I will give you an anime franchise and a horror franchise, and you will tell me which one of them moves on to the next round. It could be because it's one that you like. It could be because one you don't like. You could think about which one would I rather watch if I was on a desert island. But you will have one anime franchise and one horror franchise to choose from, and then you can pick whichever one you want, and we'll see which one wins. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Now, I will let you know that I am not an anime geek. So what I did is I looked up like top rated, most controversial, most famous, different ones. So they might be on here that you think I'm lame for putting on the list, but I did the best I could. I also did not put like ones that I thought were a little bit too big, like Sailor Moon or stuff like that might be a little bit too obvious.
Do you mean like my first edition comics that I have that are worth like hundreds of dollars that I just chill right?
That's exactly what I meant. But we're gonna transition right now, and we're gonna do bracket bit. More Japanese. Yeah, that's the right one. Bracket bit time. Zoey Hendrix, makeup artist. Make sure that you guys are following her at Zoey Sensei, and where you can watch her videos on ASL, and she's also does teaching of that as well. Give me a second here. Okay, we are catching up here. We love you, Zoe. Your cosplay is amazing. Kurt says, I now have a crush on a blue-haired girl. Is the name of my next song, and he does write music every day. And Darlene the Franks for the win.
Yes.
All right, cool. All right. Well, like I said, here is the bracket bit today for you today. In the first round, we have the franchise Insidious and Cowboy Bebop. Which one of those? Insidious moves on?
Yes.
All right, not a fan of Cowboy Bebop. And again, if I mention these two because you're the expert, if you want to give me like a note or something about either of the ones, then go ahead.
So Cowboy Bebop it came out when I was pretty young, and so my older adoptive Korean big sisters loved it, but I was a little bit too young for it. That's when I was watching Inuyasha and Sailor Moon and shit. So that's why I never got into it. But I hear it's really, really good, and I should get into it, and I'll probably love it. But I do like Insidious, though.
Final Destination franchise are the reason people freak out when they drive behind a truck full of trees, or One Piece.
Okay, you really are picking really bad anime. So
like I said, I apologize.
Yeah, I will probably go with Final Destination because One Piece, even though I have Luffy in the background, I just can't commit to thousands and thousands of episodes.
Yeah, and I know that there's like this whole crossover between the manga and the thing, and which one you should watch first, and this whole thing. But Final Destination, all right, 2 horror movies moving on.
I
all
know.
right, we have the Purge franchise versus Death Note.
Death Note.
All right,
Absolutely.
All right, we have Texas Chainsaw Massacre versus Tokyo Ghoul.
This sucks because I really like Texas Chainsaw, but it's going to be Tokyo Ghoul because that's why. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. All right. Well, there we go. I don't know. So I don't know. Scream versus Clannad, I want to say.
God, Clannad. Okay, I'll do Clannad.
Clannad, is there a specific reason? Or just you know?
Scream was just kind of like cheesy horror for me. But Clannad was, if I am remembering correctly, is the one where the chick is like this badass warrior, and I binged it, so I obviously liked it.
All right. And then you can tell me if if I have any huge omissions on it, you can tell me which ones I should have probably put on there.
Yeah, there's a lot.
The Conjuring and Uzumaki.
Uzumaki, I've never seen, but Uzumaki is Naruto's last name. But I'll do The Conjuring because I like witchy ghost, like fucked up Ed and Lorraine Warren stuff.
Got it. And then Nightmare on Elm Street or Death Note. Did we do Death Note twice?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So you tell me what I put here instead of Death Note. Give me one.
Demon Slayer, and that's the one I choose.
Well, Demon Slayer I think is on here later on. Yeah. We got the bottom part here. So all right. Well, actually, you know what? We're gonna skip the Elm Street Death Note until we get to the end, and then you tell me which one I missed, and we'll put it there.
Good.
All right.
Got it.
Hellraiser, which they're now redoing, or Attack on Titan.
Attack on Titan, and new season is out, and it literally crashed all the anime websites.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Friday the 13th or Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yu-Gi-Oh. I'll do Friday the 13th because Yu-Gi-Oh's kind of like little kid boy stuff, but I mean, it's not my thing.
All right. I know there's a big controversy about One Punch Man and who he should fight or who he could beat, but One Punch Man or The Exorcist?
Dude, that is so hard because I love The Exorcist too.
Some first round matchups are tougher than others.
Dude, okay. Well, I'm going to have to do The Exorcist because I love One Punch Man, but The Exorcist is really bomb. Like, favorite horror movie.
Night of the Living Dead. I know you're a fan of Walking Dead. Ghost in the Shell.
Night of the Living Dead because Ghost in the Shell kind of sucked.
All right. Overrated, I'm guessing. Monogatari series or Saw?
Oh.
Saw franchise.
I'm probably going to... neither. Honestly. I'll go with Saw.
All right. Okay.
I've never seen Monogatari.
All Evil Dead or Demon Slayer?
Demon Slayer. This is I'm not gonna sing the intro. Sorry.
Paranormal. I misspelled that. Paranormal Activity or Naruto?
Oh my god! Of course, Naruto.
All right. It's Scary Clowns or
Yes.
Bleach?
Is it new It or old It?
The entire franchise.
Okay, It.
All right.
That's the one.
My Hero Academia. Halloween.
My Hero Academia.
All right. And then who did we miss out here that should replace Death Note?
Oh, okay. So you could do. I do like Sword Art Online.
Sword.
Sword Art Online.
All right. Versus Elm Street.
Sword Art Online.
All right. We're getting to the second round. Insidious or Final Destination?
Insidious.
Death Note or Tokyo Ghoul?
Tokyo Ghoul.
Clannad or The Conjuring?
Conjuring.
Sword Art Online or Attack on Titan?
Attack on Titan.
Friday the 13th or The Exorcist?
Exorcist.
Night of the Living Dead or Saw?
Night of the Living Dead.
Demon Slayer or Naruto?
Why do you put those together? Oh no. Oh no. Okay, I'm gonna do.
I didn't realize which one I should have as like the number one seed, or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. You didn't.
the
Okay.
second round.
Well, you know what's gonna win? It's Demon Slayer.
It or My Hero Academia
My Hero.
versus Demon Slayer?
My Hero versus Demon Slayer. It's gonna be Demon Slayer.
Exorcist or Living Dead?
Exorcist.
Conjuring or Attack on Titan?
Attack on Titan.
Insidious or Tokyo Ghoul
Tokyo Ghoul.
versus Attack on Titan?
Oh, these are so hard for me. Tokyo Ghoul. It's really dark, really good.
And The Exorcist or Demon Slayer?
Demon Slayer.
Leaving us with a final, Zoey Hendrix, makeup artist, anime fan. This is her choice. We had some tough matchups. We made some mistakes on the list. We apologize for that. But the final decision does come down to you. Tokyo Ghoul or Demon Slayer?
Demon Slayer. Duh.
Demon Slayer wins. Is this your highest recommended anime for people to watch?
I recommend it to everybody. I'm actually getting a tattoo of it in like 2 weeks. It's going to be sick. It's going to start a new sleeve. Wait, that one. So, yes, obsessed. So good. If you're not into anime, you have to.
Really? I mean, because I want to like anime. You know what I mean? And I'm sort of looking for the right entry point into it, you know, like, because like I've never been one that sit down and watch like Dragon Ball Z or stuff like that. Even when I was a kid, I wasn't attracted to those. I mean, I loved Transformers and like not Transformers. What was the Japanese one? The
Gundam?
Huh?
Gundam or
no, he was like a robot, like Voltron.
Okay. Yep.
So I like the artistic style and stuff like that, and I do like some of like the darker kind of anime, not like the childish stuff like that. I would say aesthetically. So
a lot of it is dark. Like Tokyo Ghoul's really messed up. Attack on Titan, I think, is on Netflix, and that is the one that got me back into anime from my hiatus, and it is phenomenal. Like, even the intro will get you, and people are just dying left and right, blood, slaughter, everything.
I mean, yeah, but then I do love Japanese movies. Like I love Audition and Battle Royale and stuff like that. Battle Royale is what the lady who wrote Hunger Games was watching when she decided to.
Yeah, obviously, because Battle Royale is badass.
Even the second one, which people shit on sometimes, I think is also really good. But that first movie is close to perfect. Like,
so good.
All right, so Christina said anime is going to win, and you were right. Anime did win. Out of the top 4, 3 of them were animes, only one with horror movies. I did do horror franchises. There's a lot of standalone horror movies that probably would have fared better. Obviously, I try to stay away from that, but I do appreciate you being up for the bit, Zoey.
Yes. Thank you.
Absolutely. So as always, thank you everybody for watching. Follow Zoe on TikTok or YouTube to get tips about ASL. Learn it. Do yourself a favor. Thank you for watching. Facebook.com 2am Burrito, Twitch Burrito. Just look for 2am Burrito places that you look for media and you will find this. And if you can give us a like and a follow, that is always appreciated. So thank you very much for coming on the show.
Yes, thank you for having me.
I hope you had a good time.
I did.
We got some good information out there. So hopefully people pay attention to it.
Mhm.
And like I said, hopefully we find a movie where we can do that effect that you want to do.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
Post-COVID, in a world where we have unlimited budgets, and we can do cool stuff with practical effects, not digital effects on set.
Yes.
All right, guys. Big Chief Burrito with Zoe. Thank you for being on. See you guys later. We're out.